The ship was dying and everyone knew it. Hyun pressed his crystalline hand against the cold metal wall, feeling the vibrations of the failing engine through his fingertips. His people, the Valthine, could sense emotions and feelings from everything around them. Right now the ship felt like it was giving up. It was tired. It wanted to rest, just like the 347 souls trapped inside it. He walked through the narrow corridor, his translucent body catching the dim emergency lights. Other Valthine moved past him like ghosts, their once bright forms now dull and gray. Children clung to their parents. The elderly sat in corners too weak to move. Nobody spoke much anymore. What was there to say? Their world was gone. Their people were scattered across the galaxy, hunted like animals. Hyun reached the medical bay and found his sister Mira lying on one of the 20 beds crammed into a space meant for 5. Her left arm was wrapped in biogel, still healing from the blast that nearly killed her 3 weeks ago. She looked up when he entered, and he felt her sadness wash over him like cold water. "How is the engine?" she asked, though her empathic sense already told her the answer. "It will last another day, maybe 2. Hyun sat beside her bed. "I rerouted power from life support in Section C and D. Nobody is using those areas anyway." Mira closed her eyes. "We're all going to die out here, aren't we?" Hyun wanted to say no. He wanted to tell her they would find a safe planet, rebuild their civilization, and live in peace. But he had never been good at lying, especially to someone who could feel his emotions as clearly as her own. "Maybe," he said quietly, "but not today." The door opened and Elder Day entered, moving slowly with his walking stick. The old Valthine's crystal form was cracked in places, wounds from the final battle that would never fully heal. He had lived for 200 years, seen the golden age of their people, and now watched them die in the darkness of space. "The council is meeting," Day said. "They want to discuss the navigation failure." Hyun stood. "There's nothing to discuss. The system is destroyed. We're drifting. Then we discuss where we drift to." Day's eyes, deep blue like ocean water, fixed on Hyun. "And whether we want to drift at all." The council room was just a cargo bay with chairs arranged in a circle. 32 Valthine sat waiting, the remains of their government, their scientists, their leaders. They all looked at Hyun when he entered. He was young, only 43 years old, but he was the best engineer they had left. If anyone could save them, it should be him. But Hyun had no miracles left. "Show them the scan," Day said. Hyun activated the portable display. A star map appeared showing their current position. They were far from any known Valthine colony, far from any friendly species. The Dominion Collective controlled everything behind them, their ships hunting for survivors. Ahead was only empty space. Almost empty. There. Hyun pointed to a yellow star at the edge of the display. The navigation system locked onto this before it failed. It's in a region marked as restricted by the old galactic surveys. "Why restricted?" asked Rena, one of the council members. "The records say a primitive species lives there. Pre-spaceflight civilization. The area was quarantined 200 years ago to let them develop naturally." Hyun zoomed in on the system. "The planet is called Earth." Silence filled the room. Everyone knew what he was suggesting. "We would be exposing them to the galaxy before they're ready," Rena said. "Our laws forbid." "Our laws?" Another council member, Tae, laughed bitterly. "Our laws are dead. Our government is dead. Our planet is dust. Why should we follow rules made by people who no longer exist?" "Because it's what makes us Valthine," Rena shot back. "Because if we abandon our principles, the Dominion has already won." Arguments broke out across the circle. Hyun felt the emotions crashing over him: fear, anger, despair, hope, guilt. It was too much. His people were telepathically connected, and strong emotions spread like fire through their network. He felt a headache building behind his eyes. "Enough!" Day's voice cut through the noise. The old Valthine stood, leaning heavily on his stick. "We will vote. Do we send a distress signal to Earth, or do we die with honor in the void?" "Die with honor?" Tay stood as well. "I have 3 children on this ship, Elder. What honor is there in letting them starve in the dark? What honor is there in dooming another species?" Rena countered. "If we call them, the Dominion will find them too. We'll be bringing death to their world." Hyun felt Mira's presence in his mind, reaching out from the medical bay. She was listening through their telepathic link, and her thoughts were clear. "We must try." "For the children," he spoke up. The humans might not answer. They might not even receive the signal. But if we do nothing, we're choosing death. I say we give them the choice to help or ignore us. Day nodded slowly. A fair point. All in favor of sending the signal? Hands rose slowly around the circle. Hyun counted. 17 in favor. 15 against. Such a small margin to decide their fate. The signal will be sent, Day announced. May the universe forgive us. Hyun returned to the engine room and worked for 6 hours straight, diverting every spare bit of power to the communications array. It wasn't much. The signal would be weak, barely noticeable. But it was all they had. He recorded a simple message in every language the Valthine knew, hoping at least one would be understood. This is a refugee vessel of the Valthine people.
We are 347 survivors fleeing genocide.
Our ship is failing. We mean no harm. Please help us. As he sent the signal toward the yellow star, Hyun felt the weight of what they were doing. They were reaching out to a species they knew nothing about. The old record said humans were primitive, still learning to leave their own planet. They lived on a dangerous world, full of predators and harsh weather. The surveys called Earth a death world because of how difficult it was to survive there. What kind of species would evolve on such a planet? Would they be violent? Would they see the Valthine as threats? As food, as slaves? Hyun pushed the thoughts away and activated the transmission. The message beamed out into space at the speed of light, carrying their hope and desperation across the void. Mira appeared in the doorway, having walked from the medical bay against doctor's orders. Did you send it? Yes. How long until we know if they received it? The signal will take 3 days to reach Earth. If they respond immediately, we'll hear back in 6 days. Hyun looked at his sister. If our engines last that long? She moved beside him and took his hand. Her emotions flowed into him, fear mixed with fragile hope. They stood together in the humming engine room, 2 survivors of a dying race, waiting for an answer from strangers who might be their salvation or their doom. Above them, beyond the metal walls of the ship, the stars burned in the endless dark. And somewhere among those stars, the message traveled on, carrying a simple plea. Help us. The ship groaned and shuddered. Another system failing. Another piece of their survival slipping away. Hyun held his sister's hand tighter and waited. It was all they could do now. Wait and hope that somewhere in the universe someone would hear their cry and care enough to answer. In 6 days they would have their answer. In 6 days they would know if the universe had any mercy left, or if they would become just another extinct species lost and forgotten in the cold dark between the stars. The wait began. Captain Ji-won Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, staring at the strange signal on her screen. She had been commanding humanity's first deep space exploration vessel for 8 months now, and in that time, they had found nothing but rocks and dead planets. Now this, play it again, she ordered. The communications officer, Lieutenant Bora, pressed a button. Static filled the bridge, then words in a language that sounded almost musical. The computer had been trying to translate for the past hour, picking up fragments. Refugee, genocide, help. It's definitely not human, said Dr. Yoonji Kim, the ship's xenobiologist. She was practically bouncing with excitement. This is it, Captain. This is first contact. First contact with someone asking for help, Ji-won said. That's concerning. The signal is weak, Bora reported. They're close, maybe 2 days away at full speed. But Captain, their ship is barely holding together. I'm picking up engine failures, life support problems, everything. Ji-won made her decision in seconds. Set course for their location. Maximum speed. And someone wake up Lieutenant Taemin. I want security ready. The Indomitable turned and accelerated toward the source of the signal. Ji-won felt her heart racing. Humanity had been alone in the universe for so long. They had built this ship hoping to find others, to prove they weren't the only intelligent life in the galaxy. But she had imagined meeting equals, not rescuing refugees. 2 days later, they found the alien ship. It was huge, easily twice the size of the Indomitable, but it looked like it had been through a war. Hull breaches covered the surface. One entire section was just gone, ripped away by something powerful. The ship tumbled slowly through space, its engines dark. Life signs? Ji-won asked. Hundreds, Yoonji said, studying her scanner. But they're weak. Whatever they are, they're dying. Lieutenant Taemin Choi entered the bridge, his security team behind him. Orders, Captain? We're going in. Prepare boarding parties. Bring medical supplies, food, everything we can carry. Jiwon stood. And Taemin? Keep your weapons ready, but don't point them at anyone unless I give the order. These people asked for help. Let's give it to them. The boarding party suited up and crossed to the alien vessel through the main airlock. Jiwon led the way, Taemin at her side, Yoonji right behind with her medical scanner running constantly. The inside of the ship was cold and dark. Emergency lights flickered, casting strange shadows. And then they saw the first alien. It was beautiful. The creature looked almost human in shape, but its body was made of something like crystal or glass. Light passed through it, creating rainbow patterns on the walls. It was curled up on the floor, too weak to move, but when it saw the humans, its eyes went wide with fear. Easy, Jiwon said softly, holding up her empty hands. We're here to help. The alien made a sound, something between a song and a whisper. Then Jiwon felt something strange in her mind. Not words exactly, but feelings, fear, hope, desperate, overwhelming need. Captain, Yoonji breathed. I think it's telepathic. More aliens appeared in the corridor, drawn by the commotion. They all had that same crystalline appearance, but they looked sick. Their bodies were gray instead of bright. Some had cracks running through them like broken glass. Children clung to adults, staring at the humans with those large, expressive eyes. Taemin moved forward slowly and knelt beside the first alien. Up close, Jiwon could see it was barely breathing. Without thinking, Taemin reached out and gently picked it up, cradling it like a child. The moment he touched it, both of them froze. Taemin's face went through a dozen emotions in seconds. Shock, pain, sorrow, rage. Then his expression softened, and tears started running down his face. Taemin? Jiwon moved toward him. I can feel everything, he whispered. Captain, they're telepathic, and I can feel what happened to them. Their planet was destroyed. They've been running for months. They're starving. They're terrified. They think we might kill them. The alien in his arms made another sound, and more feelings flooded into Jiwon's mind. She realized all the humans could feel it now. This telepathic broadcast of pure emotion. The alien was sharing its memories. Fire falling from the sky. Cities turning to dust. Ships full of their people being hunted down and destroyed. Who did this? Jiwon asked, though she didn't expect an answer. But images filled her mind. Other aliens, bigger and meaner, with weapons that could crack planets. A fleet of warships bearing down on the Valthene. That was their name, she understood now. Valthene. And they were pacifists. They couldn't fight back. Their biology made violence painful to them. They could only run, and now they had nowhere left to run. Get everyone back to the Indomitable, Jiwon ordered. Right now. I don't care if we have to strap them to the outside of the ship. Nobody stays on this wreck. The next few hours were chaos. The human crew worked frantically, carrying aliens who were too weak to walk, guiding others through the corridors, loading them onto shuttles. The Valthene didn't resist. They didn't have the strength. They just watched with those big eyes, confused by the humans' urgency, by their obvious distress at seeing the aliens suffer. One young Valthene girl named Mira was brought to the medical bay on a stretcher. Her arm was badly damaged and she was unconscious. Taemin carried her personally, and when he set her down on the bed, his hands were shaking. I can feel her pain, he said quietly. How do they live like this, feeling everything? How do we live without it? Yoonji replied, already working to help the girl. Maybe that's what makes them special. By the time they finished the evacuation, the Indomitable was packed far beyond safe capacity. 347 Valthene filled every available space. The cargo bays became dormitories. The recreation rooms became hospitals. The crew gave up their own quarters to house the aliens, sleeping in shifts in the corridors. And through it all, Jiwon felt the Valthene's emotions pressing against her mind. Their gratitude was so powerful it hurt. They couldn't believe the humans were helping them. In their experience, other species either ignored suffering or caused it. Nobody just helped. An elderly Valthene named Day was brought to the bridge. He was their leader. Jiwon understood through the telepathic connection. He looked at her with those deep blue eyes and transmitted a feeling of profound respect. Yoonji worked with him, trying to establish proper communication. The Valthene had translation technology, but it was broken like everything else on their ship. It took hours of effort, but finally they could exchange actual words. Why? Day asked simply, his voice like crystal bells ringing. Why do you help us? Jiwon didn't have to think about her answer. Because you needed help, That's reason enough. But you know nothing about us. We might be dangerous. We might bring trouble to your world. You're not dangerous, Taman said from his position at the security station. I felt your memories. You're victims, and where we come from you protect victims. Day was quiet for a long moment. Then he transmitted another feeling. One that took Jiwan a moment to identify. It was wonder. Pure simple wonder at the idea that a species would protect strangers without asking for anything in return. There are others, Day said quietly. The ones who destroyed our world. The Dominion Collective. They hunt all Valthine survivors. If they find us here, they will come for your world too. Let them come, Jiwan said. The words came out harder than she intended. We'll deal with that when it happens. Right now you need food, medical care, and rest. We're taking you to Earth. Earth? Day repeated the word carefully. Your home? Yes, and now yours too if you want it. A wave of emotion swept through the bridge so powerful that every human felt it. The Valthine throughout the ship were responding to Day's broadcast of what the captain had just said. Hope. Disbelief. Desperate, fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, they had found safety. In the medical bay, Mira woke up. Her crystalline eyes opened and immediately found Taman standing guard by the door. She reached out with her empathic sense, curious about these strange creatures who had saved her people. What she felt shocked her. These humans were violent. They had evolved on a world where everything tried to kill them. They understood war and death in ways the Valthine never could. But underneath that violence was something else. Something fierce and protective. They saw the weak and the helpless, and their first instinct was to shelter them, to defend them, to make sure nobody hurt them again. Mira had never felt anything like it. The Valthine protected each other through peace and harmony, but humans protected through strength and fury. They were weapons that chose to be shields. She sent a thought to her brother Hyun, who was in another part of the ship. Brother, I think we're going to be okay. These humans are different, Hyun responded, his thoughts tinged with cautious hope. Different how? They're dangerous, Mira replied. But not to us. I think they want to be dangerous for us. The Indomitable turned toward Earth, its engines burning bright against the dark. Inside, 347 Valthine refugees slept in human beds, ate human food, and slowly began to believe they might actually survive. And in the captain's quarters, Jiwan recorded a message to send ahead to Earth Command. This is Captain Park, we've made first contact. They're refugees. They need help. And Command, somebody destroyed their entire civilization. We need to talk about what we're going to do when whoever did this shows up. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. Aliens existed. They were real. And they were refugees who had survived genocide. Within hours of Captain Jiwan's report reaching Earth Command, every screen on the planet showed images of the Valthine. Their crystalline bodies, their gentle faces, the children clinging to their parents. The whole world watched as the Indomitable descended through the atmosphere and landed in New Zealand, where a temporary settlement had been prepared. Hyun stepped off the ship and felt sunlight on his face for the first time in months. Real sunlight, not the artificial lights of a dying vessel. It was warm. He looked around at the green hills, the blue sky, the strange plants and trees. Earth was so different from his homeworld, but it was beautiful. Beside him, Mira gasped. It's so alive, she whispered. Can you feel it? Hyun could. Their empathic senses were being overwhelmed by the sheer amount of life on this planet. Plants, animals, insects, birds. Everything was growing, hunting, eating, and living with an intensity the Valthine had never experienced. Their homeworld had been peaceful. This place was vibrant and violent and amazing. Welcome to Earth, said Dr. Yunji, walking up beside them. She had barely left their side since the rescue. I know it's overwhelming. Take your time. Thousands of humans waited at a distance, held back by barriers and security teams. They weren't shouting or pushing forward. They were just watching, and through their telepathic sense, Hyun felt their emotions. Curiosity, wonder, and something else. Something protective and fierce. The Valthine were settled into a facility that had been built in just 3 days. Humans worked fast when they wanted to. Each family got their own space with beds and food and medical equipment. Doctors and scientists moved among them, not studying them like specimens but helping them heal. Hyun found himself in a meeting room with Elder Day, Captain Jiwan, and several important-looking humans. One of them introduced herself as President Nari Kang. I want you to know, President Kang said, speaking slowly so the translation device could keep up, "that you are under Earth's protection now. We will not let anyone harm you." Day leaned forward. "You understand what that means? The Dominion Collective has thousands of ships. They have destroyed countless worlds. If they find us here, they will not negotiate. They will simply attack. Then they'll have to get through us first," said a military officer named General Minho. His voice was calm, but Hyun felt the steel underneath. This was a man who had spent his life preparing for war. Why? Dai asked the question that had been bothering him since the rescue. "Why would you risk your world for us? You owe us nothing." President Kang was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Let me tell you a story about humans. We have a long history of tribes and nations. We fought each other for thousands of years. We committed terrible acts against our own kind. Slavery, genocide, cruelty beyond measure." She paused. "But we learned. Slowly, painfully, we learned that the strong should protect the weak. That power should be used to defend, not to dominate. We're not perfect. We still make mistakes. But we decided as a species that we want to be better than we were." She looked directly at Day. "You asked why we would help you, because once we were like the Dominion, and we're trying very hard not to be like them anymore. Helping you helps us remember who we want to be." Hyun felt the truth in her words. Humans carried guilt from their past like a weight, and they were trying to balance it by doing better now. It was a very human thing, he realized. They lived with their darkness and fought against it every day. 3 days later, President Kang made a public speech that was broadcast to every human on Earth and to the Valthine in their settlement. Billions of people watched. "Today, we officially welcome the Valthine people to Earth," she began. "They have suffered horrors that no one should endure. They have lost their homes, their world, their loved ones. But they are here now and they are under our protection." She paused, and her next words were spoken with such conviction that even the Valthine, who didn't fully understand human expressions, felt the weight of them. "To the Valthine I make this vow: no one hurts you again. Not while humanity draws breath. You are not guests. You are not refugees. You are our responsibility and our friends. Any threat to you is a threat to us." Then she turned to face the cameras as if speaking directly to the Dominion Collective across the stars. "And to anyone who thinks they can come to Earth and take these people, I say this: come and try. You'll find out what happens when you threaten someone under human protection." The broadcast ended. For a moment, the Valthine settlement was silent. Then Mira started crying and the sound spread. Not tears of sadness, but of overwhelming relief. They were safe. For the first time since their world burned, they were actually safe. Hyun stood outside his quarters that night, looking up at the unfamiliar stars. A human girl, maybe 10 years old, approached him cautiously. She had been hanging around the settlement fence for days with her parents. "Hello," she said. "My name is Yuna." "Hello, Yuna," Hyun replied. "I am Hyun. Are you okay now?" she asked with the direct honesty of children. "I think so. Your people have been very kind," Yuna nodded seriously. "My mom said that bad aliens hurt you and now we have to make sure you're safe. She said that's what good people do." Hyun felt his throat tighten. "Your mother is right. Do you have kids?" Yuna asked. "No, but I have a sister. Her name is Mira. Can I meet her?" Hyun found Mira and brought her out. The young Valthine and the human child looked at each other curiously. Then Yuna smiled and held out a small flower she had picked. "This is for you," she said, "to make you feel better." Mira took the flower carefully. Through her empathic sense, she felt Yuna's simple, genuine desire to help. "No fear, no suspicion. Just kindness, thank you," Mira said softly. "It's beautiful." The two became friends quickly. Yuna visited every day, bringing small gifts and telling Mira about Earth. She taught her human games and introduced her to other human children who came to the settlement. The Valthine young ones were shy at first, but human children had a way of breaking through fear with pure, enthusiastic friendliness. Meanwhile, Hyun worked with Dr. Yoonji and human scientists. They wanted to understand Valthine technology and biology, not to exploit it but to help. Yoonji was particularly interested in the Valthine's empathic abilities. "Can you feel emotions from any living thing?" she asked during one session. "Yes," Hyun explained, "but it's strongest with intelligent beings. Your emotions are very powerful, very intense. Is that bad?" "No, just different. Valthine feel emotions like a gentle river. Humans feel them like a storm. It's overwhelming at first, but also amazing. You feel everything so deeply. Yunji smiled. We do. Sometimes it's a blessing. Sometimes it's a curse. But it's what makes us human. As weeks passed, the Valthene began to truly settle into Earth life. They still lived in the protected settlement, but humans visited constantly. Scientists, doctors, teachers, children, families, everyone wanted to meet the aliens, to help them, to show them that Earth was a safe place. General Minho, meanwhile, was preparing for war. He knew the Dominion would come eventually. He gathered information from the Valthene about their enemy's ships, weapons, and tactics. He mobilized Earth's military forces, calling back every vessel from deep space. He turned Earth into a fortress. Do you think we can win? President Kang asked him one day. I don't know, Minho admitted. But I know we're going to try. We made them a promise. The vow. Yes. The vow. And if we break it, we're no better than the Dominion. 8 weeks after the Valthene arrived on Earth, the moment everyone had been dreading finally came. A scout ship appeared at the edge of the solar system. It was small, fast, and clearly designed for reconnaissance. It swept through the system, scanning everything, and then it transmitted a message toward Earth. The message was simple and cold. The Valthene refugees are in violation of Dominion law. Surrender them immediately, or be classified as enemies of the collective. Captain Jiwan was on duty on the orbital defense station when the message came through. She didn't hesitate. She opened a channel directly to the scout ship. This is Captain Jiwan Park of the Earth Defense Force. The Valthene are under our protection. If you want them, come and take them. 3 words. That's all it took. Come and take them. The scout ship's engines flared bright and it disappeared into faster-than-light travel, heading back toward Dominion space. They'll be back, Jiwan said to her crew. And they'll bring friends. Down on Earth, Hyun felt the shift in human emotions. Fear, yes, but also determination and something else. Anticipation. Humans were preparing to fight, and part of them actually wanted it. They wanted the chance to prove their vow meant something. Mira found him that night standing outside and watching the stars. They're coming, aren't they? She asked. Yes. The humans are going to fight for us. Yes. Brother, I'm scared. Not for us, for them. They don't understand what the Dominion can do. Hyun put his arm around his sister. Maybe they do understand. Maybe that's why they're doing this. Because they know how dangerous it is and they're choosing to stand anyway. Above them, invisible in orbit, Earth's fleet gathered. Ships that had been scattered across the solar system now assembled into a defensive formation. Weapons charged. Shields powered up. Soldiers prepared. The Dominion fleet arrived exactly 3 weeks after the scout ship left. 30 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Each vessel was massive, designed to crack planets and reduce civilizations to dust. They had done this hundreds of times before. Find refugees, demand surrender, destroy anyone who resisted. It always worked. Admiral Hana Lee watched them appear on her screens from the command deck of the orbital defense station. She had been waiting for this moment, preparing for it, dreading it. Now it was here. Count confirmed, her tactical officer reported. 30 capital ships. Each one carries enough firepower to level a continent. And how many ships do we have? Hana asked, though she knew the answer. 47, Admiral. But most of them are smaller than a single Dominion vessel. Hana nodded slowly. The math was not in humanity's favor. But math didn't account for stubbornness, and humans had plenty of that. A communication request came through from the Dominion fleet. Hana accepted it. The alien that appeared on her screen was reptilian, with scales that shimmered purple and gold. Its eyes were cold and calculating. This was Commander Vex, leader of Dominion enforcement fleets. Primitive species, Vex said. Its voice translated into human language. You have Valthene refugees on your planet. Surrender them, and we will leave your system intact. Refuse, and we will take them by force and destroy your world as punishment. Hana met its gaze without flinching. The Valthene are under Earth's protection. Leave our system immediately. Vex made a sound that might have been laughter. You do not understand your position. We have destroyed species far more advanced than you. Your ships are primitive. Your weapons are crude. You cannot win. Maybe not, Hana replied. But we're going to make you regret coming here. She cut the communication. All ships, she broadcast to the human fleet. This is Admiral Lee. We all knew this moment would come. We made a promise to protect the Valthene, and we're going to keep it. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten someone under human protection. Today we fight. Down on Earth in the Valthine settlement, Hyun felt the shift in emotions. Every human on the planet was feeling the same thing. Fear, yes, but also fierce determination and protective rage. They knew the battle was starting and they were ready. Mira ran to find him. "Brother, we have to do something. We can't just hide here while they die for us." "What can we do?" Hyun asked. "We're not fighters. Violence hurts us. But we're telepaths," Mira said. "We can connect minds across distances. Maybe we can help coordinate their ships." Hyun stared at his sister. It was brilliant. The Valthine couldn't fight, but they could be the fleet's nervous system, linking every ship together into one unified whole. They ran to find General Minho, who was in the command center coordinating the defense. When they explained their idea, his eyes widened. "You can really do that? Link all our ships telepathically?" "We can try," Hyun said. "But we'll need to connect with someone on each vessel. And it will be painful for us. We'll feel every emotion, every fear, every death." Minho looked at them seriously. "Are you sure? We're asking you to experience a battle. That goes against everything your people are." "You're fighting for us," Mira said simply. "This is how we fight back." Within an hour, Valthine volunteers were connected telepathically to every human ship in the fleet. Hyun linked with Admiral Hana herself. The moment the connection formed, he gasped. Her mind was like fire, burning with tactical thoughts, protective fury, and acceptance of possible death. "Can you hear me?" Hana thought. "Yes," Hyun replied through their link. "I can hear you. And through me, every ship can hear each other. Then let's show these bastards what a coordinated fleet can do." The Dominion fleet advanced slowly, contemptuously. They had no reason to fear these primitive humans. They didn't even bother with defensive formations. That was their first mistake. "All ships, execute Alpha pattern," Hana commanded. Through the telepathic network, every captain knew exactly what to do. The human fleet split into 3 groups, each moving with perfect synchronization. It looked chaotic to the Dominion, but it was actually a carefully planned strategy that required split-second timing between ships. The Dominion opened fire first. Energy beams lanced through space, destroying 2 human vessels instantly. Hyun felt the deaths like knives in his mind. 200 souls gone in a flash of light. He wanted to scream, but he held the telepathic link steady. "Return fire," Hana ordered. Human weapons were different from what the Dominion expected. Humanity had spent centuries perfecting the art of war against themselves, developing weapons designed to kill other humans efficiently. Those same weapons worked just as well on aliens. Missiles streaked through space, too fast and too small for the Dominion's large-scale weapons to track. They slammed into 3 Dominion ships, punching through shields and armor. Nuclear fire bloomed in the darkness. "They're not supposed to have nuclear weapons in space," Vex snarled on the Dominion command channel. "The Galactic treaties, and we never signed your treaties," Hana replied, having intercepted their communications. "And we really don't care about your rules." The battle became chaos. Dominion ships were powerful but slow, designed for overwhelming force against stationary targets. Human ships were smaller, faster, more maneuverable, and thanks to the telepathic link, they fought like a school of fish. Each ship knowing exactly where every other ship was and what it was doing. Pilot Junebag flew his fighter through the battlefield like a missile himself. Through the telepathic link, he felt his wingmates around him, felt their intentions before they even acted. Together, they targeted the engines of a Dominion cruiser, hitting the same spot with coordinated strikes until the ship's power failed. "Got one," June shouted, his triumph echoing through the telepathic network to every human in the fleet. But the Dominion was adapting. They started focusing fire on individual human ships, using their superior firepower to overwhelm them one at a time. More humans died, and Hyun felt each death like he was dying himself. His crystalline body was cracking from the stress, but he held on. "They're breaking through the left flank," reported one of the other Valthine telepaths. 3 ships are heading toward Earth. Intercept course," Hana commanded. "We cannot let them reach the planet." Captain Jiwon commanded one of the intercepting vessels. Her ship, the Indomitable, burned hard toward the 3 Dominion ships. She knew she couldn't stop all 3, but she could stop one. "Taemin," she said to her security officer, "if this doesn't work, it's been an honor." "Captain?" Taemin looked confused. Then he understood. Jiwon was aiming directly at the lead Dominion ship's bridge. "Everyone, evacuate," Jiwon ordered. Get to the escape pods. That's a direct order. Captain, no. Her crew protested. Go! She screamed. Her crew fled to the pods. Taman went last, tears streaming down his face. Through the telepathic link, every human in the fleet felt what Jiwan was about to do. Someone stop her. Mira cried out from Earth, but there was no time. The Indomitable, engines at full power, slammed into the Dominion cruiser like a spear. Both ships exploded in a massive fireball. The explosion caught the second Dominion ship, crippling it. The third ship hesitated, and that hesitation was fatal. 3 human destroyers surrounded it and tore it apart. Through the telepathic link, Hyun felt Jiwan's last thought. It was simple and clear. Worth it. The battle raged for 6 hours. Slowly, impossibly, the humans started winning. Not because they had better ships or weapons, but because they fought with a coordination and ferocity that the Dominion had never encountered. They used tactics that made no sense to species who fought for conquest. Humans fought for protection, and that made them unpredictable. June's fighter took a direct hit. His ship was dying, systems failing, but he had 1 missile left. 1 shot. Through the telepathic link, he felt Admiral Hana's tactical display. He saw the Dominion command ship, saw its shields flickering from damage. For Earth, he whispered. For the Valthine. He aimed his crippled fighter directly at the command ship's weak point and fired his last missile. Then he followed it in, using his fighter itself as a weapon. The missile punched through the failing shield. June's fighter followed a second later, slamming into the ship's reactor core. Commander Vex had exactly 3 seconds to realize what was happening before his ship exploded from the inside out. With their commander dead, the remaining Dominion ships broke formation. Some tried to retreat, others tried to fight on. But the human fleet, bloodied and battered, showed no mercy. They hunted down every last Dominion vessel. When the last enemy ship was destroyed, silence fell over the battlefield. Human ships drifted among debris and wreckage. Of the 47 vessels that started the battle, only 19 survived. The cost had been terrible. Thousands of humans were dead, but Earth was safe. The Valthine were safe. On the orbital station, Admiral Hana collapsed into her chair. Through the telepathic link, she felt the Valthine's overwhelming grief and gratitude. They had experienced every death, felt every sacrifice. They understood now what humanity had paid for them. Hyun, she thought through the link. Is your sister okay? She's here, Hyun replied, his mental voice weak. We're both here. Admiral, I don't have words for what you've done. We kept our vow, Hana said simply. 1 year after the battle, Earth was a different place. The Valthine settlement had expanded into something more permanent. The temporary shelters were replaced with real buildings, designed jointly by human and Valthine architects. It was a beautiful blend of both species' aesthetics, human practicality mixed with Valthine elegance. Crystal gardens grew alongside human parks. Children of both species played together in shared spaces. Hyun stood in his laboratory, working alongside Dr. Yoonji on a new kind of medical technology. The device combined Valthine biotechnology with human engineering. It could heal injuries that would have been impossible to treat before. This is incredible, Yoonji said, studying the readings. Your biological knowledge combined with our manufacturing capabilities. We can do things neither species could do alone. That seems to be the pattern, Hyun observed. Together, we're better than apart, Yoonji smiled. That's what partnership means. In the year since the battle, the relationship between humans and Valthine had deepened. It wasn't just about protection anymore. The Valthine had things to offer. Their empathic abilities helped human doctors understand patients better. Their biotechnology advanced human medicine by decades. Their philosophy of peace and harmony challenged humans to be better than their violent history. And in return, humans offered protection, resources, and a fierce determination that the Valthine would never be victims again. Mira had become something of a celebrity. The young Valthine girl who had formed the telepathic link during the battle was now a symbol of cooperation between the species. She gave speeches, attended ceremonies, and spent her free time with Yuna, who remained her closest friend. Today, they were at a memorial. The entire settlement and thousands of humans had gathered to remember those who died in the battle. A massive wall had been erected, with the names of every human who fell etched into black stone. 3,247 names. Elder Day stood at the podium, his crystalline form catching the sunlight. He was old, even by Volthene standards, and the battle had taken a toll on him. But he stood straight and spoke clearly. "For my people," he began, "violence is pain. To experience war is to experience agony. Every death we felt through our telepathic links was like dying ourselves. We felt every human who sacrificed themselves, felt their fear and their courage and their determination." He paused, his voice becoming emotional. "Humans ask why we honor them, why we build memorials and speak their names. The answer is simple. They died for us, not for their own people, not for their own planet, for us, for strangers, for aliens they had known for only weeks." Day gestured to the wall of names. "In our long history, the Valthene have never experienced this. We have been ignored, exploited, and hunted, but we have never been protected. Not like this, not with such complete and total dedication." He looked directly at President Kang, who stood in the front row. "You made a vow. You kept it. And because you kept it, my people still exist. We owe you a debt we can never fully repay." "You don't owe us anything," President Kang said. "That's not how this works." "Then let us choose to give anyway," Dee replied. "The Valthene wish to formally join Earth as equal partners, not as refugees or guests, but as citizens. If you'll have us." The crowd erupted in cheers. President Kang's eyes filled with tears. "We would be honored," she said. But the ceremony was interrupted by an alert from orbit. Admiral Hana's voice came through the speakers. "Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. Multiple signals are being received from across the galaxy. They're distress calls. From other species." President Kang and Day looked at each other. They both knew what this meant. In the command center, Admiral Hana displayed the incoming signals. Dozens of them from different star systems, different species, all saying essentially the same thing. "Help us. Please help us." "News of the battle spread," explained Ambassador Kyung, Earth's diplomatic liaison to the galaxy. "Other species who have been oppressed by the Dominion or other aggressive empires, they all heard what happened. They know that humans will protect refugees. And now they're all asking for help," General Minho finished. "Can we help them all?" President Kang asked. "No," Minho said honestly. "We don't have enough ships, enough resources, or enough people. We can barely protect our own system. But we can help some of them," Hyun said, entering the command center with Yunji. "And with Valthene technology, we can build ships faster, better ships. And with Valthene empathic abilities," Mira added, following her brother, "we can coordinate fleets across vast distances. We can turn Earth's forces into something more effective than numbers alone would suggest." President Kang looked at the Valthene siblings. "You're offering to help us help others?" "We're offering to stand with you," Hyun corrected. "You saved us. Now we save others together." The decision was made quickly. Earth and the Valthene would form a joint fleet. They would respond to distress calls from across the galaxy. They would offer protection to those who needed it. The galaxy's reaction was mixed. Some species were grateful. They had suffered under various tyrannies and finally had someone willing to help. But other species, especially the aggressive empires, were terrified. This human-Valthene alliance represented something new and dangerous. A force that fought not for conquest or resources, but for principle. The Dominion Collective sent ambassadors to negotiate. They wanted to establish peaceful relations to avoid further conflict. It was a transparent attempt to buy time to rebuild their forces. Ambassador Kyung met with them in a neutral station. The Dominion representative, a different one since Vex was dead, tried to be diplomatic. "The events of last year were unfortunate," the alien said, "but surely we can reach an understanding. The Valthene situation was an internal matter. We will agree to leave them alone if you agree not to interfere in Dominion affairs elsewhere." Kyung looked at the alien coldly. "You destroyed an entire species because you feared them. You hunted refugees. You threatened Earth. And now you want us to ignore you doing the same thing to others? Be practical. You cannot save everyone." "Maybe not," Kyung agreed. "But we can try. And every species we save is one less victim of empires like yours." The Dominion representative left unsatisfied, but the message was clear. Earth and the Valthene would not look the other way. The first joint mission launched 3 months later. A species called the Thala had sent a distress call. They were pacifists, much like the Valthene, and they were being invaded by a neighboring empire for their resources. Captain Taman, promoted after his bravery in the battle, commanded the rescue fleet. 5 human ships and 2 Valthene support vessels. It wasn't much, but it was enough. They arrived in the Thala system to find orbital bombardment in progress. Without hesitation, Taman ordered an attack. The invading fleet was smaller than the Dominion had been, and they weren't expecting human tactics. The battle was short but brutal. The invaders retreated, and the Thala were saved. "Thank you," the Thala leader transmitted. "But why? Why would you travel so far to help us?" "Because someone has to," Taman replied. "And we can. That's reason enough." The Thala joined the growing alliance. So did the next species and the next. Not all of them. Some preferred to remain independent, but enough joined that within a year, Earth was at the center of a growing coalition of species who believed in mutual protection rather than domination. The galaxy called them the Sanctuary Alliance. Earth didn't choose the name, but it fit. Back on Earth, in the expanded settlement, Hyun and Mira walked through the crystal gardens. The plants here were Valthene, brought as seeds from their lost homeworld and planted in Earth's soil. They were growing, thriving, mixing with Earth plants to create something beautiful and new. "Do you think about home?" Mira asked. "Sometimes," Hyun admitted. "But this is home now too. Maybe even more so. Home isn't just where you're from. It's where you're wanted. And we're wanted here." "Yes, very much." They found Yuna waiting for them near the garden entrance. She had grown taller this year, and she was training to be a pilot. She wanted to fly the joint missions to help rescue others like the Valthene had been rescued. "Ready?" she asked. "Ready?" Mira confirmed. The 3 of them walked to the memorial wall. It had become a tradition for Mira and Yuna to visit together every week, to read the names and remember the sacrifice. Today, they had brought Hyun because he wanted to add something. A new section to the memorial. Not names of the dead, but names of the saved. The Valthene, the Thala, every species that found sanctuary because humanity chose to protect them. "So we remember both," Hyun explained. "What we lost and what we saved. The cost and the reason." The memorial was dedicated in a quiet ceremony. President Kang, now serving her 2nd term, spoke briefly. "A year ago we made a vow to the Valthene. We promised that no one would hurt them again. We kept that promise. But in keeping it, we learned something important. We learned that protection isn't a burden. It's a privilege. The privilege of being strong enough to defend the weak. The privilege of being in a position to help." She gestured to the new section of the memorial. "These names represent species who were alone, who were hunted, threatened, or enslaved. They're not alone anymore. None of us are. Because we stand together." The crowd, a mix of humans, Valthene, Thala, and others, cheered.